Hey guys, Tammy here. And in this video, we're going to talk about the secret key to custody. Now, when we're going through this, we tend to focus on all the wrong things. And there's really only one thing that you truly need to focus on. And if you can focus on that, it will shift everything else. Let me, as always, ask you if you like the content, please hit like on this video. And if you like the channel, please subscribe so that you get notified as new videos are released. And as always, feel free to share this on your social media channel, whatever that is. When we're going through custody stuff, we tend to focus on external things. And it's really hard to move through the court system and not get in sort of that victim mentality, even if we're not normally in a victim mentality. And really what victim mentality is blaming everything else outside of yourself for what's happening. And I think we don't necessarily blame outside stuff, but we look to outside things to fix our problems. Okay. Whether that's the judge, whether that's our attorney, whether that's the child expert in the case, and honestly, even sometimes our ex. I get a lot of phone calls where people are like, well, how can I just get my ex to do what they need to do? Or how can I get my ex to stop doing this, that, or the other thing? And usually their thing is, do I file contempt? Do I take this court action, that court action? And really, that's focusing all on external things that at the end of the day can't really control your ex's behavior. I mean, they can't. They can't control your ex's behavior. They can't control your situation. And a lot of the problems in custody and co-parenting really boil down to day-to-day issues that we're trying to navigate with a very difficult person. The good news is that the secret key is really you. This all boils down to you because you are what you have control of, your reactions, your interactions, and all of those things. And honestly, I believe this is the most underrated piece of advice in all of family law. I think that clients often will dismiss that and say, well, there's nothing I can do. What can I do? I'm doing everything I can do. Well, you might be doing everything you can do, but those might not be the right things. So it's a combination of doing what you need to do, but knowing what that is. And the only way you can know what that is to educate yourself on the system and the process and the court's perspective. Because again, what we tend to do is rail against it, right? We tend to say, well, the judge didn't listen to me. The judge sided with my ex. My attorney didn't do their job. My attorney didn't say the right things. This child custody expert got the evaluation wrong and all of those things. And I'm not saying those things don't happen sometimes. Of course, everybody in this process is human and sometimes people make mistakes. I'm not saying that they don't. But what I'm saying is we're looking at those things as the root cause of the problem. And at the end of the day, these problems existed before you had a judge, before you had an attorney, before you had a child custody expert or an attorney for the children or whatever you're up to your eyeballs in. And these problems are all going to exist after all of those experts go away. And again, that's something I talk to people a lot about. Like, look, someday all these people are going to go away and you're still going to be left with trying to co-parent with this person. So if you think the solution lies in, some court order or the behavior of some other person, that might work in the temporary, but that's not going to solve your long-term problem. Because at the end of the day, you are the co-parent with the other person of this child or these children. And so you've got to learn to find a way to navigate these issues and deal with the other person effectively. And in order to do that, you have to have the tools to do that. You have to understand that the system, right? The judges, the attorneys, again, child experts, attorney for the children, whatever it is, the system is not there to help you understand the issues and to help you learn how to navigate them or to help you learn how to deal with a narcissistic ex. The system isn't set up for that. The system is set up for, wow, you two can't agree on a parenting plan. Okay, you come in front of me, everybody gives their sides, and as the judge, I make a decision. That's going to be the parenting plan. Boom, we're done. And the things that I'm looking at are probably not the things you're looking at from your side. It's analyzed different by the court, right? Which is why you hear us talk about best interest of the children and all the different things that the court looks at when they're going through, a case and analyzing it. The bad news is the court and the system can't fix your problem. The good news is you are the one that actually can. And the way that you do that is, again, through the way that you respond and the way and your reactions and interactions with the other parent. And again, educating yourself on what does that need to be? Because I think that's where people make the mistake. They think that they're doing the right thing. And they think that they're doing the right thing because they think, well, I'm being a good parent. I'm doing what I think a good parent would do. Only what a good parent would do in a co-parenting situation is different than what a good parent would do without the involvement of the other parent, or if they were married or whatever. If there wasn't this sort of, opposing viewpoints, that would be a different issue. But because you have this other person on the other side, I frequently tell people, look, sometimes what's best in your co-parenting from the perspective of the courts and experts and all of this overrides or is in conflict with what's best from a parenting perspective in your eyes. And when you're dealing with a high conflict person on the other side, you have to balance that in there too, right? So we have to have good boundaries, all the things that we're taught, disengage from conflict, gray rocking, all the different techniques we're taught in the narcissistic realm. How many times have you sit down and looked up a video on narcissism? Okay. I'm guessing a lot, especially if you're listening to me, you're looking that up, right? Okay. How many times have you sat down and looked up the legal aspect of how a judge views your case and what the laws all are in your state? Now, some of you may have done that also, but my guess is that isn't as frequent as looking up the narcissistic issue, especially when you have an attorney, because you're kind of abdicating that part of the process to them. So you're thinking, well, I have an attorney. They know all the legal stuff. I don't really need to know that. Not true, because that's what your behavior and your interactions are being judged on. That's the filter through which the court is looking at your actions and behavior. And actually, the court isn't even looking at it from the perspective of the narcissistic issues, right? I frequently tell people, you don't walk in and say, my ex is a narcissist. That's the first way to totally tank your case. It becomes, oh, you're not an expert and you can't diagnose and blah, 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 all the counter arguments. And so the court isn't even filtering through the narcissistic lens. And yet that's the thing that we're also obsessed with looking at. And rightfully so. I'm not saying that those techniques aren't good or useful or any of those things. I'm just saying that's not the perspective the court's coming at it with. So we go into court and we've done all these things and reacted in all these ways that, Google tells us to on narcissism, right? We've done our gray rock. We've done all these things. And then we go in front of the court and the judge isn't happy with how we're handling things. And we're thinking, well, why? I don't understand. Like, I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to be healthy. I'm trying to have boundaries, trying to do all these things. And it's like, okay, but you've gone so far down that rabbit hole that you're not considering the legal aspect of it and the judge's perspective and what the court is even wanting from you. So you have to be able to balance those things. And that comes through knowing what that is, even knowing and educating yourself on the court system and the narcissism and your own mental health and being able to bring all those things in together and balance the three of them. And you are the person that can do this. So the success of this lies totally within your control. And that's the good news. Now, if you'd like to learn more about how I might be able to help you with this and about my coaching services, you can go to divorceuniversityonline.com/VIP-coaching. There's a link on that page. You can book a time to talk to a member of my staff and learn more about my services and find out how I might be able to support you on your journey. See you guys next time.
We'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands.